If you're one of those who wonders why Christianity has so often been its very opposite down through the centuries, burning heretics, starting wars, creating violence in the world, then it's important that you understand that there are multiple dimensions to a spiritual teaching. They've been known down through time as the exoteric, the outer, the outside, the superficial, the mesoteric, the middle, the normal range of its good but limited understanding, and the esoteric. Now, esoteric has often been portrayed as secretive and occult even, but that's not what it means. Esoteric means inner. That is to say, all of us begin with that outer range and needs to discover and individually find our way to the inner depths of the teaching, to make it our own. Over the centuries, people have often been stuck only at the surface level and never even scratched into the real meaning for their own transformation. So they saw religion as a cultural phenomenon, followed the rituals, and were satisfied with that limited version of religion. Today we often separate spirituality and religion because of that very encrusted, outdated, institutionalized aspect of a dynamic living teaching. So, in every generation, each of us must rediscover for ourselves what the esoteric is, what the real inner meaning is, that organically, if you will, shapes a human being and causes the experiences that have been enshrined as doctrine. By that I mean the mystics, the lovers of God, have attempted to explain their experience. The idea of the Trinity, developed by Gregory of Nyssa, was a failed attempt in some ways, certainly down through the centuries, to express a mystical experience of the communion, the union of energies from the uncreated one through the incarnation, this community of love that so few people have managed to understand. It was poetry, not theology. And as with everything else, human beings take something and reduce it to its lowest common denominator and often create the very opposite of what it is meant to mean. So each of us is responsible, is accountable for really searching what it is that is at the heart of a wisdom teaching, a spiritual teaching. We've separated esoteric from the mainstream, and yet the early teachers who taught the monastics in the deserts of Egypt and Syria, descendants of the apostles, were merely trying to be authentic in developing purity of heart, as Jesus spoke of. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. And Jesus himself makes it clear, the words are recorded, that the secret of the kingdom has been given to you, but not to them. And I speak in parables to them. There is an outer and there is an inner that must be discovered by effort, not just handed over. Because otherwise it is received by a limited part of ourselves, as opposed to hungered after and found and absorbed in a way that creates metanoia, change of mind, metamorphosis. So Christianity has been reduced to this cultural thing, this milquetoast version of itself, and in many ways betrayed the Savior and crucified him again by its misrepresentation of the teachings, misunderstandings, and oftentimes guilty of the very thing Jesus said to the Pharisees: you stand at the gate of the kingdom and do not enter, do not allow others to enter either. In this day and age, in the 21st century, when religions from around the world are made known or surfacing, it is critical that we rediscover the origins, the source, the roots of what shaped Western civilization, so that we can separate that which is exoteric from that which is esoteric, so that we can find the living teaching that changes lives. Each of us has to walk this narrow path. There are many crevices and wrong directions and deceptions and manipulations and obstacles, both from ourselves and from the world around us. We know that those who are detractors of Christianity are often connected to a version of Christianity that is inaccurate, which is seen on television perhaps, but not understood. In other words, the detractors don't take the time to find out what it is they are condemning. They see the surface thing, have no idea of the deep waters from which it comes. So I urge you not to make that mistake. This could be what you have been looking for all along, if you enter into what it really is. When we explore that inner dimension of Christianity, that esotericism, that mysticism that is from the beginning, when Jesus says, I and the Father are one, he is speaking mystically. And to reduce it to some rational concept or some social gospel is to do what Jesus did, what Judas did to Jesus. Judas wanted to take care of the existential needs of the poor right now, and take the spiritual revelation, the universal expression of God's truth, and make it a social agenda. Since the 19th century, 20th century, many folks have gone with that extremely limited understanding of the gospel, have made in many ways nonsense out of it. When Jesus says, blessed are the poor, he's speaking of blessed are the poor in spirit, those who have humbled themselves. He's not speaking to an economic class. What a violation of profound teaching. So each of us must get past these errors, these confusions, these muddied waters, until you find the true pearl that will make you the best that you are meant to be. Make you an incarnation of goodness and spiritual presence and strength and clarity and capacity to help the Creator care for the creation. Down through history, the one unitive line has been the mystics, the true lovers of God. Often misunderstood, maybe always misunderstood. The great Meister Eckhart was excommunicated. Recently the Pope turned that around because it was a mistake. Eckhart's student John Tauler, said to those detractors at the time, you understood him from the point of view of time, but he was speaking to you from the point of view of eternity. There are different levels of wisdom, of understanding, of consciousness, and each of us must search in order to find. Jesus says it clearly, seek, ask. And therefore it is a true journey. It may take a lifetime, but it will change everything. So before you reject things, before you mock things, take another look. Let Spirit resonate in your soul. Pray for help and guidance. Open yourself. Be receptive. You know that a negative mind, a cynical mind, will not find any truth. Negativity by its very nature is a lie, say the wise ones. And in truth, you know that is the case. We hear one part of what we want to hear to make the worst of it. It justifies wrong behavior. It poisons us physically and psychically. It causes destruction in the world and other lives. Negativity runs the world, say the philosophers. Not money or sex, but negativity. Because we feel sometimes perversely more alive in those dark energies. But spirit will not enter that coarseness. We need to be in a higher state to commune, to encounter spirit, to even know there is such a dimension. And so Jesus leads us into it through timeless images and stories, all of which are containers of deep, unfathomable truth. Truth that through a lifetime will still need to be explored and will bring new riches of understanding. So don't be afraid of that word esotericism. Let it invite you in to where the mature, the spiritually mature go, to where the meat is, not the milk for infants. Once I thought like a child, as Paul says. It is high time now to authentically find what these teachings are. They are not a building, they are not a middle class or a social agenda or your grandmother's version of it or some twisted mix of patriotism. It is wisdom from the holy. And it has been abused and persecuted from the beginning because those who cannot understand it turn against it. Jesus says, if they persecuted me, they will persecute you. And this persecution goes right into the churches. Sometimes the worst kind of persecution is done in the churches. So it's a lonely road, but you'll find companions on the way. And those precious friends, spiritual friends, make life worthwhile. So be not afraid. Seek and you will find. May God bless you on this journey.